Hey guys, welcome back to the layout once again. Today we're going to take a look at installing a TCS Keep Alive. This is a KA4, looks like that. We're going to throw that in this SD70ACe I've got here. This is an Athearn Genesis model. This is the first run from 2010. I still need to put the plow back on and some of the lenses. But I recently put Loksound in this unit, so we're going to pop the shell off, take a look inside, and I'll show where to solder the black and blue wires here to the decoder, and then we'll probably change a couple CVs to make sure that the Keep Alive is working properly, throw it on the layout, and hopefully all is good. So let me set the camera on the tripod here, and then we'll start opening this locomotive up. So what I have installed here is a Loksound Select Direct board. Essentially it's just a replacement PC board. So you can see there's really a main light board, and then on top of that there's actually really the brains of the decoder, and this is basically just a Loksound Micro, which you might install in like an N-scale locomotive. So what I need to do is take this off of the main lighting board, because there are a couple tabs underneath that we are then going to solder our wires from our Keep Alive onto. I'll just set the locomotive off to the side. So here is our decoder. You can see it is very, very small. And I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to show in the video the actual soldering process, just because I think I'll be in the way, but I'll try anyway. But if we take a look at the decoder here, we have our black wire. This that you see right now is actually the underside of the decoder. So this is what faces the PC board. When you pull it off, I've actually flipped it over. So the black wire is the ground from the Keep Alive. That is going to go to this far top left tab. You can see there, right? That one that's all the way in the corner. So I'll do the black wire to there. And then just on the other side of the board, so if I flip it over here, it's the reverse side in the exact same orientation. So now it's the bottom left. That tab there is going to be, where the blue wire goes. So blue wire to the top side of the decoder, to this tab here, flip it over, and then that tab there, again top left we're looking at now, is going to be the black wire, or the ground. Then here's what I'm using for solder. When you look at it compared to the decoder, it's a little chunky. It'll do, but if I were you and I were doing some super tiny soldering, I'd get something with a much finer strand. So here you can see how the wires are stacked on top of each other, right? The blue wire is on the top of the decoder, black wire on the bottom. And if you're looking at it from this orientation, of course the pin or the plug is on this end of the decoder. So if you're looking at it with the plug on the bottom side, on the left side, then that means the blue wire is bottom left, as is the black wire. Unless you flip it over, then of course it's going to be top left for the wire orientation. Now I think it's just time to plug the decoder in and make sure everything works okay. So here's my programming track. Before we put the Keep Alive inside the shell and tape it down, I just want to make sure that everything works. So I'll turn on track power here. So the locomotive does start. So there are actually a few CVs that we need to change to make sure that the Keep Alive works properly. The first one is we need to deactivate aux6, which is controlled by CV315, but CV315 is an indexed CV, meaning that we need to make sure that the index register, which is CV32, is set to 0. So we're going to go ahead and write that CV. Okay, and then we'll go to CV315. We want that to be 0 as well. So then we'll write that. So CV315 is now 0. And then we're going to want to change CV113, which controls how long the keep alive is on, and we want it for its maximum capability, so I'll do 255, which is the maximum range. And there you can see locomotive has no power, but of course it stayed powered through the keep alive, right? It's not receiving track power, but the keep alive actually kept the lights on, as it's doing right there. So one thing to think about too, and this is probably important before you actually solder everything together, is to make sure there's actually a place for the keep alive. So you can see there, it's 4 cylindrical capacitors mounted upright in sort of a square pattern. And if I'm judging this correctly, and I did a couple measurements, that'll fit nicely right up there in sort of that square notch you see behind those wires. So what I need to do is actually undo some of the taping I've done and just shift those headlight wires out of the way so that I can then slide that up there. I've got some double-sided tape right here. We will go ahead and use that to mount it to the roof there, and hopefully that stays snug. I haven't had problems in the past, so that should be good. And I think that has enough clearance that it won't show through on the grills. It also won't encroach on the truck pickup wires over here, and it shouldn't hit any of the frame. So you can see I have the keep alive kind of tucked up in there in that little box. Doesn't look like much, but a little double-sided tape on the top side of the keep alive, and then I have just some regular Scotch tape on the bottom side there attached to each of the walls. And then I made sure to sort of roughly channel the wires. I kind of grouped them together. So it looks terrible. A professional would do better, but this will do. So now it's time to put the shell back on, make sure everything fits, because if it doesn't, I can still make adjustments. Then we'll plop it on the track and make sure it all runs. Well, that's just about it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and maybe that was helpful for some of you. But to all of you, thank you for watching. That's all I have for now. So as always, stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next time.